Well, listen, it's great to be here. So I'm going to talk to you about putting AI to work, right? And it can be very easy to sort of hear the phrase AI or the word AI and kind of switch off, right? You've kind of heard it all before. In some cases, you're potentially even bored of it. So all I'm going to ask you to do, I'm going to be talking for about 40, 45 minutes. Then I'm going to do some Q&A. So Terry and I'll have a chat. But I want to be sort of, make you think actually, and start thinking about, well, what is it I don't know and need to know? And, put your hand up and ask some questions. Because I want you to listen, because it's very easy to gloss over this, right? This is going to change your world. You might not feel it yet, but it's going to. So I want you to leave here today with a very different perspective on artificial intelligence, what it is, what it's going to do, what it means for you personally, and your business, and your clients, and your future. So this is the key thing here, is the future isn't going to be what you thought it was going to be, right? You see my resume there. I've got an accounting and law degree. I've been a lawyer in the city. I've been a banker at Credit Suisse, M&A, leveraged buyouts. I've been a hedge fund manager. I've done lots of different things, entrepreneur, lots of different things. I had a kind of view of the future. I had a view also of what my I've got teenage children, 3 of them, of what their future might be in terms of education, what they might do, what might not want to do. And that's all completely changed in the last, I'd say, 2-3 years. Completely changed in terms of my view of my future, and I'm getting on a bit, and their future, and they're in their teens. So anyone in this room, if you intend to be around for the next 10 years at least, you're going to see a huge amount of change. Now, I do some keynotes. I'm going to spare you today for an hour just on this slide. And this really is about starting to introduce you to the idea of exponentials, right? And you work in money, you understand finances, you understand hopefully a bit about geometric progression and exponentials and how they're fundamentally different to linear growth. So I was a banker at Credit Suisse. I spent 6 days a week, 18 hours a day sometimes, modeling businesses, mergers, acquisitions. And the top line and the cost was always 1%, 2%, 5%, linear change, right? If I modeled a company with an exponential revenue line, I probably would have got fired. But that world's changing. And the point here is that little zigzag there is kind of a break in that line. That line, I don't know what direction we're pointing in now, that line there goes down Oxford Road to Tottenham Court Road Tube and Centre Point. So 200,000 years of humans, not much has changed. The savannah, the way our brains are programmed, is linear. Not much change for our hunter-gatherers, our children. My children have been educated in a very, very similar way, very similar curriculum to my grandparents, possibly even my great-grandparents. Not much has changed. So we are programmed to think in a linear fashion. It's easy. It's even a bit lazy, actually. It's just easy to do. And the point here is that's beginning to change, right? We've lived in a human-first world. I grew up in Lancashire. I first got into business because I was fascinated by the entrepreneurs of the Industrial Revolution. When I was sitting at school in Rosendale, Lancashire, anyone know Rosendale? Everyone heard of Bake Up? I now you know where I came from. You're probably surprised I'm still standing here. So I grew up in Bake Up, right? And you know what Bake Up was like. So my teachers would say to me, oh, Weavers' cottages have got big windows, let the light in, see what they can do. And they point at one. Mills, the town was littered with mills. They're all posh flats now. But I was fascinated by it. And the point is this first industrial revolution, really, was about tools, steam engines. The first tools we used, like, things to break rocks, but the first real tools were engines. Helped us be physical, move things. Gave us more power, essentially. And in the second industrial revolution, that was more about consumerization, electrification. And the third industrial revolution, a lot of us have lived through, most of us in this room, but all of us in this room, I would assume, was the internet, telecommunications. General purpose technologies, GPTs, not ChatGPT. That's a generative pre-trained transformer. But these platforms like telecommunications, the internet, changed our world. Now we're entering the fourth industrial revolution, and it's going to be the last. Because what happened was the power loom took 150 years to be ubiquitous globally. Then you got railways, probably 70 years. Then you've got what else? Then you've got sort of steam engines, 50 years. Then you had telecommunications, you fast forward quite a lot. Electrification, maybe 20, 30 years. Then you've got telecommunications, mobile phones, 20 years. Then you've got the internet, 10 years. And you've got ChatGPT, TikTok, a year, 3 months to 100 million users. So you can see those blocks of time are shrinking. And that's what generates an exponential. And they're shrinking all the time, you just don't feel it. So that whole thing about you put a rice of grain on a chessboard, the first square, and you double it, double it, double it, double it, double it. First row, not much happens, pretty boring. By the last square, there aren't enough grains of rice in the world, right? That is an exponential. It's explaining it. And as I go through my slides, just keep thinking about that. And the red dot there is what you don't want to be. So a red dot is a typical human. I do it. I have to train myself not to do it. And you hear something about AI, robots, and you think, yeah, but it can't do this. Yeah, but it'll never do that. So I gave a talk to a FTSE 350 chairs, mostly men, sadly still, about a few months ago. And in the room, there were some women, I'll come back to one of them. And in the room, their understanding of the technology, there was a linear correlation between that and the response to my speech. So you had the people who've never used an AI at all, ever, not even to write a poem for their missus's birthday card, right? They were like, oh, it's never going to do that. How dare you say that? How dare you think it's going to be able to do this or that? It's nonsense. And they're ready to leave. Then you've got Nicola, who is the ex-chair of IBM UK. No, ex-CEO, actually. Now she's a chair of IBM UK. She's just nodding her head going, yeah, he's right. So you've got to make sure that when you hear about this technology, you don't fob it off. You don't hear yourself saying, yeah, but it can't do this. Because I guarantee you, it will be doing it quite soon. So whenever you think, oh, it can't do that, just put hyphen yet. And the point here is we're in that AI-assisted age now. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about robots. I'll touch on robots. I had a board meeting this morning with our robot in situ. But we're going to move from the AI-assisted era, we're in now, period of time, to an AI-first world, which is what I'm going to touch upon. And that's a world where AI is better than us at all cognitive tasks. So imagine what that was like. Now, first it's going to be cognitive labor, knowledge work, like what we do, and eventually physical work. So it's coming. So that kind of sets the scene. So what does that look like, right? What does exponential look like? So when ChatGPT came out, 3, it was a chatbot. We were all chatting away to it. Well, this is clever. It can talk to me, sort of. And then, it works. This came out. So any of you remember this? This is the Will Smith eating spaghetti video, right? It's like a meme almost, essentially. I know, right? It's, let's face it, it's rubbish, right? But I always say that AI today is rubbish. AI today is the worst it is ever going to be. So when this came out, it was like, flipping it, that's quite clever, actually. It's actually making videos. Now, one of the most tiring things in my job these days is updating my flipping slides, right? So what's this? This is Q2 2023. Fast forward to Q2 2025, which is getting on a bit now, and you've got this. So that's now HD quality. It's not quite Will Smith, maybe copyright law caught up. But the amazing thing is, it generated the noise as well. Now, that spaghetti is a bit crunchy, right? But you could change the prompt to say, look, spaghetti's not crunchy, and it will fix it, right? So that was them. Then, end of last year, you've got this. So OpenAI CEO, ChatGPT, Sam Altman, he's in the video. His face, which looks just like him, if you ask me, was created by 3 seconds on a phone using the Sora app, which some of you may have used. It's quite hard to access in the UK. So I want you to watch this, right, just for a moment, and look at it. Look at the physics. Look at the sand, the dust, all the sound, the music. It's all generated from AI prompts.
1 year ago, Sora was redefined as possible.
Can you turn it up a bit, if possible?
Today, we're announcing the Sora,
Thank you.
powered by the all-new Sora 2.
All AI.
That's powerful imagination.
So think about Will Smith eating spaghetti, the first one. The dust,
It is packed
the
with
physics.
details. I'll pass the bill for more details.
Right. You kind of get the idea, right?
So
I'll just go back and stop it there.
1 year ago.
I'll stop it here. Yeah, that's it. So you get the idea, right? So I don't know about you, I spend more time on a Friday night looking for films than I do watching the damn things, right? And you're going to see that within 3, you can probably do it now, it'll be quite expensive because of the compute needed. Within 3 years, you'll say, look, I've got to go and pick up the kids in 45 minutes. I want a space cowboy film based around Jupiter, so I like Jupiter, and I've got 45 minutes. I want a female heroine, roughly this plot, let's go. You'll get a film. On the fly, out of your head. That's within 3 years. Forget Netflix. That's happening. That's the power of this stuff. So that's great. That's exponential. From Will Smith in 2023 to Will Smith HD quality to the thing I just showed you last year. And to be honest with you, it's moved on since. I've had an update on my slides. So great. In business, though, not so much what you do, but generally, what does that mean? So model, jacket, trousers, scene. Put it all together. Bingo. You can put any product anywhere. In your world, you can put any client anywhere. So we have they're more financial advisors, wealth managers more, and they have a client, a bit of a fun, and they say, look, I want to buy a BMW M4 convertible and buy a villa on a golf course near Marbs. So what they've got is that person in an M4 on the way to the golf club in Marbs on a document. A bit of a laugh. You could put them in any scene, any world. It's really about personalization. Just think about that as I go through. Not the most exciting slide you've ever seen, but this is really important. So I don't care whether you've got a corner shop, whether you are a one-man or one-lady outfit, or you've got quite a big team, right? Business is about a couple of things, but mostly it's about data. It's about customer data, finding customers, understanding them, matching your product to them, understanding them, selling them the right thing at the right time. It's about data. And in most businesses, your data looks like this. It's dark. You do a bit of analysis. You've got some tools. You might have some kind of SaaS you're paying for every month, and it gives you a few insights here and there. The beauty of AI is that in your hands now, all of you, quite literally, you've got tools that if you take this scene, apply AI to it, it looks like this. So now you start to see spectral vision, infrared, whatever the hell you want to call it, night vision. You can now see things in data, in your customers, in their sentiment, their needs, the way they feed, the data they're giving you, your products and services. You can now see things that your competition who are not using this can't. And when you respond to that, that's what's called competitive advantage. Good old-fashioned competitive advantage. And that's what you can now do. This is what it empowers you to do, is see into data in ways you never could before. So the core of all AI is not the prompt and the model, it's your data. So the first thing is record everything. Every phone call, every Teams meeting or Zoom, whatever you use with your clients, prospects, record everything. Because now you can now analyze every single phone call across different dimensions. Interest, propensity to buy, the product they're interested in, extract information about them, what they said, what they told you. I'll show you some examples and update that to a CRM and then keep it. You couldn't do that before. You only really recorded calls if you wanted to do some training and you'd pick 2 out of 100, or if you're regulated, which you kind of are, but record everything. Conversations are now the ultimate data, which you couldn't really analyze before. So I'll touch on robots. So I've got the bottom right robot. It's called Destiny. Comes to events. Couldn't bring her today. Because security gets upset when I turn up with these things. I've often come along with it and said, no, you can't bring that in here. Yeah, it's like, I took it somewhere to NEC. They wanted health and safety assessment at the door, security. It's like, anyway. Also, Destiny, don't ask me why they keep teaching humanoid robots to do Kung Fu. But I don't know if that's the best thing they should be doing. Well, she's learned Kung Fu since last week, since last time I saw her. So these are robots, right? So you're going to see in your environment, when people meet Destiny, our robot, they look at it, they're bemused for a couple of minutes, and they get on with their lives. And when I look at people doing that, I think, you know what? That is like somebody. Have you seen that famous picture of Broadway in New York in 1901? It's Broadway's full of horses, right? And then they show it, I think it's like 10 years later, there are no horses. It's all cars and one horse. So this is robots. These things, they're a bit clumsy now, they're a bit more controlled car, but they're now learning. You saw the Sora video, they're learning of our environment. So the point here is, I'm going to do something which I probably shouldn't do. Never do a tech demo, because it always goes horribly wrong. But what they're using, I'm going to take a picture of the room. I'll delete it, in case you're not supposed to be here. I'll take a picture. I've just said I haven't done anything clever, just said, describe this scene, right? So hopefully the Wi-Fi works. So these physical things that are becoming got more dexterity, they can do parkour and backflips, I can't. They can now see our world and understand our world. So Piers, this is a wide angle photo taken from the front of a conference room, looking out over a seated audience. There are about 70 or 90 people in that square there, arranged in theatre-style rows. The audience is predominantly business professionals, smart casual, business attire, mixed genders, ages, mostly adults. Most are smiling, good, and looking attentively at the speaker. Thank you. Good to hear. Full marks. The setting is a hotel or conference venue, low ceiling, chair, blah, 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 blah. I could go on. I could ask it, what watch do you think the people in that photo are most likely to buy? And it's seen 1 billion people of all different races, religions, creeds, and nationalities wearing watches. It'll give me a good idea, actually. That's the power of it. So put that in one of these, and that's where the world's going. These things, there'll be more of these things, and some might be like spiders. I've also got a dog, quadruped, great for security. You'd walk up to you in your warehouse and ask you, who the hell are you? What are you doing here? And scan your face. Right? And then tell someone you're not supposed to be there before you kick it. So put that technology in these things, and you can see where it's going. So expect robots to change the world. They'll be looking after you in your old age, for sure. So let's talk about AGI, right? And we're going to get into the bones of it. I'm going to give some examples of how you use this technology. I want to be more practical as well. But you've got to understand AGI. The thing about AI is, it's that rice grain thing. It's changing. And it's like when you start a business, people say to me, I've been running a business for 3 years, and it's hard work. I'm like, yeah, it is hard work. And some of you are going to experience this. But all the effort you put into it is compounding. You just don't feel it yet. That's why most startups, it's 3 to 4 years of grind, and then they get into the kind of scale-up phase, and they can raise Series A, Series B, or more money. And then they grow, and then they get into a growth phase, Series B, C. All businesses are the same. That effort's compounding. And that's the same in AI. We just don't quite know when. Something 3 years, something 10 years. But let's say 5 years. So Dario Amodei, this was the Davos last year, he said the same thing this year, actually. He reckons 5 years AGI. AGI is artificial intelligence, which is a general intelligence. So just think about this for a moment. It's better than us at all cognitive tasks. So it's better, cheaper, faster, safer than us at anything that involves thought, thinking, analysing stuff. So I've been a lawyer, a banker, I've got an accounting degree, hedge fund manager. Sadly, everything I've ever done, the value of it is going to 0. So I'm going to come on to, that sounds quite worrying, how you actually, what are your defences against that? I'm going to come on to. That's not just me, that's Google, Microsoft, politicians. They can see it coming. They just don't quite know how or when. And you might get a bit of an AI kind of bubble burst, and it might be flat for a few years, but eventually there'll be some algorithmic change or revolution, and they'll achieve AGI. And this is what you've got to start thinking about. So personally, and in your businesses, right, you've got to become, I don't know what word you want to use, proficient. I prefer to use a master at using this technology. Use it yourself. Use it as a sidekick, use it as a sounding board. So who uses AI on a daily basis? Who uses it for things other than writing a card for mum's birthday? Who's made a photograph with it in the last week? Who's made a video of it in the last week? Who's used deep research? That's pretty good, it's pretty good. I did some room of lawyers and no one put their hand up. Literally no one put their hand up. That's pretty good, but you should all have your hands up. And I really mean that. Use it for every cognitive task. I'm doing this, what do you think? I'm preparing this, what do you think? Give it context. Tell it about you, your business, your life, your desires, your ambitions, both personally and business. Have different projects with different contexts and use it. Because that's going to be the competitive advantage, that's your edge. And what you've got to think about, right, is that as we approach AGI, even AI today, so if you stopped all research in R&D today in AI, all of it. What we've got is what we've got, that's it. It'll probably take 5 years, everyone really start using it, and for it to permeate into our economy properly, 5 years. That's just what we've got today. But it's getting better every day at an ever-increasing rate, it's accelerating. So cognitive labour, sort of going away, really. So you won't be doing the grunt work, the prep, the delivery, essentially. You've got to be doing the strategy, the relationships, the human part. And then you're going to have physical labour. So It doesn't really affect people in this room. If you work on a building site, I reckon in my daughter's lifetime, you'll never get a human on a building site. You'll never get insured for it. You know, have any of you ever sat in a Waymo? And no one ever been in an autonomous vehicle? Right, well, lady, so you've been in a Waymo. It's insane, isn't it? And that's your moment where you think, whoa, things are about to change. When you're sat in a car that's driving itself, and they're coming to London this year, it just changes your view of the world. So robotics is coming. So think about that pyramid of value. It was all humans once. We did everything. And then you had the industrial revolutions. We filled it with technology and computers. And we ended up doing sort of less, but the pyramid got bigger. GDP, populations, working class, middle class, it got bigger. So there's more for us to do. That's not happening now. In fact, in most cases, populations are going to shrink, but the pyramid's still filling. So my personal view is there's going to be less work for humans to do within 30 years. So you've got to think about how do you migrate to the top of that pyramid and add value using the technology. Don't fight it, because that's a battle you are destined to lose. And that's personally, and that's in business. How do I use it to augment myself, to be better, to reduce risk, to learn more, move faster, serve customers better? I'm going to go into some of that detail now as well. So this is kind of like, you asked for this slide. So this is where we are, right? We're in a train, and it's going uphill a little bit, and we're going to end up stopping and getting into an elevator. We just don't really know when that is. And the thing about exponentials is, if you're following that little character there, and you're a bit behind, and he or she gets in the elevator and off they go, catching up's going to be a complete pain. It's going to be really hard, actually. So that's why nation states, governments, America, China, and we kind of talk about it, but they're obsessed with this because winner takes all. If you've got a broken business and you implement this technology at the right time, right, at scale, you're going to move a lot faster. You can access more people, talk to more people, you can serve more people. You move top of the pyramid, you're adding the value, but the technology is doing the grunt work. So my business, our strapline is grow your workforce, not your payroll. Well, I'll come on to that as well. So we're here, we just don't quite know how far away that lift door is. So, right, I've talked about AI now, you're probably thinking, oh God, right. So what you hear a lot about in the news is AI. Lots of news stories about companies, this billion, that billion, and it can get quite tedious, right? So yeah, listen to it, it's interesting. That's what I call the PR frontier. Within that, there's another frontier called the jagged technological frontier. And that's where the technology is actually being used in useful, interesting ways. Watch that and listen to it. Not because it's particularly interesting, you've got to be all technologists, but listen to that because within 6 to 9 months, usually, that moves to what I call the operational frontier. It works. You can use it. It adds value. Voice agents, a great example. They were a bit kind of hit and miss 2 years ago. We have voice agents now calling, I'll give you an example in a minute, thousands of people. No one knows they're talking to an AI. Avatars, uncanny valley. CTT Group, hands up, where are you? They're one of our first customers, actually. And we were consulting with, back in the day, we were doing that. And we talked about avatars. And they're one of the first companies we've come across, and one of the few still, actually, they've employed avatars in the business. And the avatars are getting better and better and better and better all the time. Won't be able to tell the difference quite soon. So, but what you've got to do is to start is, we have 2x2 matrix, right? Yeah, you can do top right, which is what CTT Group, to be fair. They went kind of like, let's do something that adds a lot of value, but it's quite out there in terms of technology. But very quickly, the technology's got better, and it's moved to the bottom left box, where it works and it adds value. Start there. Because you're you've only got finite resources, you want to use AI that makes a difference. There's an ROI, it changes something. There's a meaningful, measurable ROI. If you want to play with it, do something crazy and uncanny, fine, crack on. But for the business, if you want to take your stakeholders with you, your team, start in the bottom left box. That's the key piece of advice to take away. So, putting AI to work, where does it work, right? So I'm going to go through a few use cases now. So these are the 3 things that we've spent 3 years working with companies talking about AI. This is where we see it works the most. It covers a lot of ground: revenue, capacity, and customer experience. So let's look at revenue. So revenue really is about, you've got a prospect, potential customers out there. You may have customers already who you're not maximizing the value out of because you haven't got time to talk to them or analyze them or provide the information you want to. You may have customers that need reactivating because they're being customers and they're quiet, or maybe they're moving home again and they forgot you exist because you haven't got the ability to keep people up to date. So prospect and research and intelligence. Who are your prospects? Where are they? What do I need to know about them? What can I research about them? What can I find online about them? Whether it's a business or whether it's an individual, slightly different, but you can do that research and analysis. Something that humans, they can do, but it's quite time consuming and very expensive. AI is very, very good at that. Sales engagement. Someone hits your website, I don't know, 7 o'clock on a Friday night. So we work with quite a few care homes, a bit different, but my mum's fallen over, she's broken a hip, she's going to need care. Happened, Friday night, I want to talk to a care home provider. Who do I talk to? There's one on the website, fill out the form. When do they get back to you? Tuesday? Someone's on your website, they're thinking of moving home, need some advice. They're on the website, when are you going to get back to them? Now, with an AI, you get back to them there and then. Right there, chatbot, email. We have AIs that you talk to them, it's a conversation, it'll extract the information, it will then send them within 3 minutes a personalized summary of the conversation, a PDF, and some recommendations on the product within minutes. Who's going to win that customer, that prospect? You or someone else is going to call them back on Tuesday? So sales engagement's immediate, and that can be done at 3 in the morning, all weekend. Out of hours, Christmas Day doesn't matter. AIs don't care, they don't do holidays. And then customer reactivation is a big one. You've got customer base. I'll show you an example in a minute. How do you keep in touch with them, reactivate them, educate them, keep them up to date, tell them about new products, services, changes, different mortgage rates, whatever it might be? It's very difficult, people ringing people up all day. AIs can do it. Now, you might not pretend it's a human. You might say, hi, I'm calling from so-and-so. I'm their AI. I want to give you an update. People don't care, as long as they're getting value. If Brad Pitt rings you, even if you like Brad Pitt, to say you're double glazing, you're not going to take the call. People don't care as long as they're getting value. So the power of conversations, right? I'm going to play you this. So this is similar to what you do, actually, Terry. So this is a company that do property training, and they've got a base of people. They want to get to events. Some turn up, some don't, and they want to talk to them and ask why or get them there. So look, listen. And what you're going to do naturally is listen to this, and you're going to think, does that sound like a human? Like you're being a red dot. What you should be listening to, what value am I getting from that conversation that I can use in the future?
Hi, Amy here. Are you still interested in learning about property investing?
Yes, I am, yes.
Great. Are you still available to attend an in-person training day at your convenience?
I would be. When would it be, though? If I've been so busy with work.
I think of the sentiment is ambitions.
I completely understand how busy life can get. We run events regularly throughout the year. Would you like to hear about that?
That's an AI doing empathy, by the way.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Absolutely. I'll have our booking specialist contact you with the available dates. Before that, could I ask you a few quick questions about your goals?
Yeah, sure.
Fantastic. Are you currently involved in property investing or just getting started?
Just getting started.
Perfect. Everyone starts somewhere. What attracted you to property investing?
Well, I have a full-time job, but I'm sick of making investors' money.
I love making investors' money. But I'll let it run until then, because I want to get a feel for the sentiment you're getting. You can't get the information any other way. A form? You're going to get someone to call in, a whole room full of people doing 40 calls a day, high churn, nightmare to manage. You can't do it by a form. Email, a chat, it doesn't work. Chatbot doesn't work. So that information, if you think about it, it's huge value in it. Then you've got capacity. So this really is, simple one really is, listen, you've got so many hours in a day, you've got so much resource, you've got so many assets, people working for you, and you can only do so much. So how do you take that and multiply it? 5x it, 10x it, 15x it, whatever it might be. And that's capacity. So that's out of hours. Obvious basic one. You've got a website that's working for you, and suddenly someone's trying to talk to you at 7 o'clock on a Friday weekends, and nothing happens because you're busy. You want to have a life. AIs don't care. They'll do it. Tech support, customer support. Now, maybe not for you, but support. So maybe somebody might be in the middle of a application, and you've got a system that tracks what's happening and where they are in the process, and they ring up. It's in e-commerce. It's like Wizmo. Where is my order? So you might say, well, okay, well, where's my mortgage application? And if you've got a system that tracks where it is, in the CRM, whatever it might be, it can tell them. You don't need to do it. And they don't care whether it's an AI. All they want is an answer. So think about support as well. Think about augmenting yourself and your workforce, your colleagues. Look at what they do. Look at where the blockers are. Work out, going back to that 2x2 matrix, what is AI good at? And get AI to do it. And let them move up to the top of that pyramid. Not do the grunt work, the repetitive, mundane stuff that, let's say my technical jargon, the crap we all hate doing. And in the future, where's talent going to go and work? Organizations where the mundane's being automated, organizations where they still have to do it. And the answer is obvious. And then you've got admin. Automate the mundane. Admin. Credit control. All the basics. AI is not very good at complexity, messiness. So there are like three vectors in AI, really. Value, velocity, variability. If it's variability, like marketing is a tricky one. I want to write a blog, get a picture, upload it. AIs aren't very good at that. Too many humans in the loop to check it all. Velocity, data, fighter pilot, tracking 200 targets. Humans can't do that. You know, humans can't multitask, especially men. So you've got to think about, how do I multitask using AI? How do I use lots of data? The AI is very, very good at that. And then value. Very, very high value customers. Customers you want to close, you're probably not getting AI to do it, let's face it. But the grunt work, the research, the initial engagement, the reactivation, the first engagement, following up, telling them where their application is, AIs can do that. So you've got things AIs are good at, high velocity, low medium value, low variability. Things humans are good at, so sort of higher value, more variability, and sort of low velocity. In the middle is a combination of the two. It's a human-machine partnership. And that's what you're talking about, augmenting, getting that right today. And the last one, really, this is to give you an example, right? This is a recruitment company. They have 200,000 people in their database. They do construction recruitment, right? So they have a team of 5 people calling 40 people a day. They can get through 5,000 people a year. Hi, how are you? Where are you? What do you do? When are you available? Where are you working now? What part of the country are you in? You know, soul destroying. So they could get through 5,000. So our agent we set up got through 4,500 people on a Saturday afternoon. Had 650 conversations and booked 66 jobs. They called us and said, can you stop the AI? We had a big call, get them on the call. We said, what happened? What's going on? What's wrong? We've got too many leads. So you get into these like weird situations where there's a second order issue, but be careful what you wish for. Because that at some point is going to hit humans that need to do something, and then how many do you need? So it's quite interesting how that works. And that costs 160 quid of agent time. It'd be 2.5, 3, 4 grand for humans, especially on a Saturday. And I think what is important to the people in this room, all of you, is customer experience. So we work with a lot of wealth managers. And I don't know what to say when you work in mortgage broking, but in wealth managers, how many of you are actually wealth managers as well? And they say to me, they say, what, you want to grow your business? Like, oh, last thing I want to do, Piers, is grow our business. There's so much admin. And I'm like, what? It's the only sector I've ever come across, I've ever heard that. So there are things that people are developing platforms. Now, how do you reduce the admin? How do you personalize experience and knowing what you know about these people and their ambitions and their lives and their finances and their family? So customer experience is the experience for one. You might have a database of like 10,000 people, and you might have 5 segments of 2,000. That's pretty good. Now you can have 10,000 people in your database and 10,000 segments of one. That's hyper-personalization, using what you know about them from your database, your meetings. You've recorded all your phone calls. You've got agents talking to them, updating them. They know it's an AI, but it's a service you're offering. You take all of that and you analyze it and you talk to them, market to them, engage with them in a way that's specifically designed for them, not another 5,000 people like them. That's the key. So customer experience is huge for you. And what you can do is surprise and delight people in ways that never happened before. Personalization works, especially in what you do. And this is the key to it. You know, in any business, in any sector, the frustration we all live and breathe is you grow your revenue, you win an award, you get a lion badge. And what happens? Your flipping cost base just goes with it. Because you're hiring people. There's an industry standard margin. Forget it. What you want to do is grow your revenue, even if it's slightly, makes a big difference, because it will go straight to the bottom line if you can detach your cost base. It's not going to be everybody in the business, not everything you do, but you can start to detach your cost base from your revenue growth. What do you get? More margin, more profit, a more valuable business if your ambition is to sell it. And that's the Holy Grail. That's what it's really about. Not about how funky is it, how cool is it, what's some super clever thing I can do with AI. It's not going to add a huge amount of value. Just deal with the basics, where AI works and where it creates an ROI, and implement it and learn. And don't try and boil the ocean. Just start small. Case studies. So clinics. We have lots of clinics. We've got lots of people on their database. They reactivate them. So it calls up people. It says, look, you're on a call. You talked about having, there's actually one example actually. It was actually a guy playing golf. He wanted to get his teeth done because he's going on holiday in Marbella. And he was a 15 grand dental job. And he got distracted because he's playing golf with his mates. Got lost. This looks at all the phone calls, analyzes them, finds that. It knows what the price list is. In your case, it could be, tell me a bit about yourself. So if you go on our website, it'll do a BANT qualification on you. In terms of the budget, authority, all the usual stuff. It'll ask about you, your business. It could be who you are, what you want, tell us what you want. And immediately, you'll send a follow-up saying, look, thank you for calling. Here's a summary of the conversation. That's what we know. Here's some information about us and our business and what we do and our products. And one of our teams is going to call you back. It's actually booked the meeting. The AA there that said, I'll get our booking specialist to call you. They can book the meeting in any calendar you choose. Pharmacies, we've got one that looks at 30 million prescriptions. This is data again, that data thing, the infrared. 30 million prescriptions, government pays if you want a blood pressure test. They look at 83 different conditions. One is contraception. If you want contraceptives, you can get a blood pressure test for free. And normally people go back to their GP. So the pharmacy wants to go back into the pharmacy and get a blood pressure test. They get 18 quid. It's a £400 million business. Probably costs them 75 grand a year to run that agent. And it's a £4 million revenue opportunity. Just from data analysis. Couldn't do it any other way. I've talked about the staffing one, security again. That's one where more business where he's got these dogs roaming around, checking things that humans can't do at night, all night long. Makes a huge difference. Analysing calls. So the key is record everything. Think about where you're touching prospects and customers, where you're keeping the data about them. How do you, number one, enrich it? And how do you add value to it? And how do you then use that in a way to improve experience? And your ability to actually just convert them, let's face it, it's sales. This is what we're talking about, as you build a business, you've got all these different departments. So the beauty of it is, a lot of your businesses are, so how many have you got businesses above 100 people working in it? More than 50? More than 20? More than 10? Below 10? So the majority, right? So the thing here is, take me for example, right? I'm quite good at sales, right? I know marketing because I've kind of absorbed it by seeing people who work for me doing marketing, but I'm not a marketeer. But now with AI, I can become a pretty adept marketeer because AI can expand my capabilities. I just say, look, that's what I want to do. I understand it enough to be dangerous. But what you can now is expand your capabilities and your team's capabilities. So you want your team now not to have a job. You want your team to now do work. What they know, what they're good at, but what's adjacent to it. Because AI can augment them and become the best copywriter in the world for your particular sector, for your particular region of the country actually as well. So think about that. Don't think about adding people for no reason. Try and augment the people you've got. And this is the key to it really, is a lot of people in AI, they sort of say, we want to have an AI project. There's no such thing. We've got a tech team. They're starting an AI transformation project. Forget it. This project will never have an end. This is not something where you're going to install AI, look at it, go, good job, and come back 3 years later and do it again. This is going to be an ongoing process of you implementing it, finding new use cases where you can use it, Taking that 2 by 2 matrix, bottom left box, things appear in the top right box. Oh, that's clever, but it's not really reliable yet. They suddenly appear in the bottom left box. The text got better. There's an ROI. You deploy that. You're getting better. The tech's getting better. It can do more, and you're deploying more of it forever. It will never end. That's why the third industrial revolution, the internet, telecommunications, was the last industrial revolution. There won't be a gap in another one. It's going to be a constant, iterative evolution from now on, this technology. So think about that. And how long I've got left, I'm probably doing all right. So, but I'm going to end it here, actually, and we'll have some questions. I think that's where you get the most value. So think about this picture. So this is not really, it's not a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, this. It's not a once-in-a-career opportunity. You know, if you think about AGI, what is it? So I've got a LinkedIn newsletter, all sign up for it, and I've got an article called, you know, think about this. If an alien species was going to arrive on Earth in, say, 5 years, there'd be a lot more meetings about it. And that's essentially what we're looking at. That's what's going to happen. And you get to use it now ahead of the game, if you understand it. So this is a once-in-a-species opportunity, literally. We're creating a new one that's going to augment all of us. And those that grasp it, you've got people on the quayside, people on the boat, right? And you can all make the leap onto that boat, personally, in your business, in life generally. But that boat is going to start moving away from the harbour. And it's got to move away fast, and the gap's going to get bigger, right? I sold cloud solutions for probably 10 years of my life. And I gave a keynote about 8 months ago. And the keynote was to a big room full of people. And it was called, Why the Financial Services Sector Should Transition to the Cloud. And I'm only telling you that because I used the same notes from a keynote I did 7 years ago. Don't tell them that. Literally, I'm not making it up. I just changed the heading, did the same notes. I'm telling you right now, that is not happening in AI. I mean, my slides already out of date, updated them 2 weeks ago. So the point is, when this boat starts to leave the harbour, and you might think, oh, it doesn't affect me, but it does. Because you hear this saying a lot, AI is going to take your job or kill your business. AI isn't. But people competing with you, using it, they absolutely are. So make sure when this boat leaves the harbour, you're on it, because this one's not coming back. Thank you.
Oh, perfect. Thanks. I can put my mic back on. Thank you. We've got 10-ish minutes, so I've got a couple of questions for you, if that's okay. Oh, that was perfect. That was great. That was great. Like that, everyone? Yeah? Class. Loved it. So, just from a personal point of view, do you have a mortgage broker?
Haven't you?
No, I'm joking.
I've got a property now, sold it.
Have you got life insurance?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got all that.
Do you want some more? So, you kind of alluded to it a little bit at the end. Are you optimistic or pessimistic? Because there's some people I listen to online from an AI perspective, really doom and gloom, the world's going to end. Some people are saying it's going to complement us and make everything better, and we're going to, work in synergy for the rest of the time. What's your overarching view of that?
I didn't touch on this in this presentation, right? But is my mic still working there? But I'm an optimist. So the point here is that whether it's you, I find it amazing. I wake up every day and I use it, and it blows my mind. It's getting better every day. And I'm an optimist in terms of using it yourself and your business. It'll make you better, and it inevitably is going to make your business more successful if you use it. No matter whether you're 10%, 100%, it's just going to make you better at what you do. And then the other point is, the only real downside really is bad actors. So typically, it's not the AI, it's the humans using it. I don't really believe in it's waking up and it's suddenly sentient and it's got a bad attitude about humans.
Yeah. Could
happen theoretically, but unlikely. So it's more about the positive. And the beauty of it is AI is going to solve aging. Right? Aging is an engineering issue. Don't know about my life.
What, so you think live forever? Do you think that's going to happen?
Until you get hit by a bus. But then,
the Brian Johnson gig, as in...
When you've uploaded yourself eventually...
Your consciousness to wherever.
That's like... Well, you won't get hit by a bus, because there'll be AI driven, they'll know you're there.
Self-drive, yeah, exactly.
But, I mean, you kind of joke about that, but car insurance, I hate to say it, if any of you do, it's going away. Because cars ain't going to crash.
Do you think driving licences will just be gone then?
Yeah, you won't be able to drive a car in a city with my children's life. But the point is that you lose your family members because of ridiculous diseases, cancer, whatever it might be. That's going to be reduced and go away. So there's a big upside to it. The downside is more the bad actors. But the thing is, like I said, I'm not making it up, joking, it's just become proficient at it. Because it's not just useful, it's generally interesting and will improve your life.
Love it. Love it. If you were to, I know it's almost impossible to say, right? But if you were to predict, what would you say the industries are, I know most are at risk, but the first ones at risk, as in on this timeline, that curve that you mentioned, what's going to go away next? If you were going to predict a couple of things, what do you think is going to be impacted?
So the one on LinkedIn I talk about quite a lot is call centres.
I'd welcome that.
Call centres.
Sitting on hold, my God, it's terrible.
Call centres are going to go away. You'll have things for escalated cases, complex cases, edge cases. People that are vulnerable, for example, that'll be humans still. But the kind of general conversation in the call centre is going to go away. Driving is going to go away.
As in the whole transport industry, lorries, all that, yeah?
It's going to go away. Don't quite know when, but that's on its way. You can see it already. And then you're going to see the robots kicking in as well. So, physical labour. You can see that's a bit further out. So lots of things in what you sort of do, I think in knowledge work generally, I think a lot of the grunt work can be removed. And it lets you focus on the relationship, the strategy, the productization, making it sort of fit better. But the analysis and the research you shouldn't have to do within sort of 2 years maximum.
Yeah.
And you can keep going.
Yeah, of course you can. Go for it.
Right, so you said about the red dot that doesn't move,
Yeah.
they stay still. So I could be AI'd up to my eyeballs and I could be really good at this, and then I start ringing my clients and they've all lost their jobs. So
But that's inevitable. So there's two things you're saying there about, what happens to the technology is inevitable. Right? We don't quite know when. And that impact on jobs is inevitable. So I think there's going to be lots of new jobs. Right? I mean, we're hiring people now doing jobs that didn't exist a year ago. But I think overall, call centres has 1 million people in the UK. So overall, you are going to see a change in the work for the labour force.
Yeah.
And I've got teenage kids, right? And they ask me all the time, what do you think I should do?
yeah, mine's 25, so he's a
One of them's on a third England rugby camp. Thank goodness, he might be playing rugby, who knows? One's not sure, might join the army. One's creative, which again, it's not a great place to be. They're creative. So I don't really know even my kids. But the point is that you've got to be proficient at using it, because that's going to be, going back to my pyramid, I think it's going to protect you the most. But I think that 30 years out, and a lot of work is going away.
So just on
Everything I do is going
that point of the work going away, because I've watched lots of podcast interviews, people talking about this UBI and this universal basic income. I think Musk calls it universal high income or something crazy like that.
You would.
Yeah.
What's the government going to do?
I was going to say, so if what everyone's predicting, me included and you, saying that a lot of jobs are going to go, what do you think is the solution? Is work going to be optional, as they say? Just your opinion?
So go on my LinkedIn, follow my newsletter. I write about this a lot, right?
Okay.
In detail. I've got an 8,000 word essay on this,
Have you?
literally.
I'll get AI to summarise it, yeah.
Yeah. It's that one sentence. All about UBI, the future work, post-labour economy. It's all there. You can't really cover it here. But essentially, you've got to think about, if you go to the nth degree, where literally most of labour and output has been done by automatons, be it digital or robotic, you've got to start thinking about UBI, conditional basic income, so you get paid if you do things of use to society or your local community.
I've never heard that.
Or things like dividend trusts, where all that production is put into organisations that produce stuff and earn a profit. But who's
And then they trickle that down.
and then that gets distributed. So you kind of weirdly go towards techno-socialism in a way. It's quite weird.
It is. It's mind-blowing, really, isn't it?
So that's income protection out the window then, isn't it? But it is. If you
People are always going to die. Well, I was just about to say people are always going to die, but they might live
It's
forever.
quite a long this stuff is a long way out. The difficulty we have is that, I work with government. I was on the board of the government bank during COVID. Right? I was on the board of British Business Bank when we deployed all the COVID and all this stuff. And I know how quickly they move. And I'm a lawyer by training. So the issue is that normally society and what we're doing in law, and what we're actually doing is 5 years, the Child Safety Act, to 20 years, climate change, ahead of law. That's in a linear world. So imagine an exponential world. The regulators, law, policy, education, right? They've got no chance of keeping up. So my point is, you've got to take responsibility for yourself.
Love that. Yeah, one last question just for time, guys. Tony, go.
So it's a serious question. We've all seen the film The Terminator. When are we there? When are we out of Cyborg?
So there's things mixed up there. So one is the fact that sentience and consciousness, right?
You said on there about more than.
Well, I'm not talking about sentience, I'm talking about intelligence, which is slightly different. So I think that at some point, you know, I mean, I'm not particularly religious, right? So there's nothing special about us, I don't think, in terms of the way we work, you know, whether you think it's got a soul or not. But the physical side of it is just wetware, and it's programmed for experience and the brain and where you grew up, right? So that, I think, at some point, if we're conscious, I think it might be 50 years, could be 100 years, who knows, they will become subconscious. Now, whether they've got a problem with humans, and they think we're just in their way, I'm not sure. And that's what a lot of the AI model companies, Anthropic, Google, are focused on, is alignment, making sure they align with us. And the best model of, if you look at most examples of a more technologically advanced civilization met one that was less advanced, we all know what happens. But the best model they found so far of where something which is less intelligent, less capable is looked after is the mother-child relationship. So they're trying to replicate that almost to sort of align us. So I'm not a big believer in that's going to be the outcome. Could be theoretically. But I think that if we are aligned and harness it properly, it'll solve aging, it'll solve most diseases, it'll solve nuclear fusion. We'll live in an age of abundance. How we get paid and what we will do all day are different conversations.
Love that. One last one, just a dead quick one. If I had to press, sorry guys, we're not going to have time because we've got Brad in a sec, but if you had to say, I know you can never say, just a pure prediction, that elevator thing, approximate timeline, just your opinion,
So
what would you say?
I'm playing on hedging my bets. So I'm sort of, if you look at the two people I think that know the most about it, it's Dario, Anthropic, Claude, and I'd say it's Sedemis Hassabis, who's Google DeepMind, right? And he's sort of 10 years and he's 5. So
What they are saying,
I'm
it's
somewhere in the middle, but I think I think it's 5 years. It might not be complete AGI. So you're not going to wake up one morning and they've turned the light on, maybe. That's some kind of algorithmic breakthrough. But it may be a continuum where it just evolves and it nears AGI. But even near AGI, if you think about it, cognitively, is a massive change. So I'd give it 5.
5 years.
But-
Make hay in the
think
next
about
5
10
years, isn't it?
Let's just say it's 10 years, right? 10 years. I mean, what were you doing 10 years ago? You've got a pretty clear memory of it. You know, how old are your kids? What are they doing? They might be teens now, might have just starting work. It's 2 governments. It's 2 business planning cycles. And you've got something which is more intelligent, better, cheaper, faster, safe. Any human. That's pushing the boat out.
Yeah. We'll leave it on that mic drop, eh? Bombshell, please, round of applause. For Piers Linney, thank you so much, my friend. That was unreal. Thank you so much. Cheers, mate.